All right, thank you all for being here this afternoon. It's an exciting day for our program. I think we got much better day in the course of a couple of hours. Before I get started talking about the recruiting, just a couple of housekeeping things I'd like to go over briefly. We've had some additions to our coaching staff, and I just want to clarify some roles within our staff. We added David Gibbs, who'll be our defensive coordinator. I think everybody knows that. We announced that a few weeks ago. Doug Meacham is our new offensive coordinator. He will coach the quarterbacks. Travis Bush has a new title of co-offensive coordinator, and he will be our assistant head coach as well and coach the running backs. Ken McClintock will move back to the director of football operations, and we added Vernon Hargraves as well. Yesterday to our staff. He'll be our linebacker coach. So just a couple of things staff-wise, and then we'll have specific dates and times for a spring practice schedule out very soon, but we will start practice 4 weeks from Monday, March the 4th. We'll have 2 practices that week, that Monday the 4th and Wednesday the 6th. Then we'll break for spring break the following week. We'll come back and basically go for 4 straight weeks, for the most part Monday, Wednesday, Friday, with our spring game being Friday, April the 12th. All of our practices this spring will be completely open to the public as well. But turning toward recruiting, again, really excited about the events of this morning and the faxes we received. It's been a year ago I stood up here, and it's really a 4-week sprint before the 2012 class, and this has been a 12-month marathon. And we're excited. I think we addressed a lot of needs within our program, positionally, without question, and I think as well, one of the things we try to do is get more size. I think we had an issue and have an issue on our team being physical and the size of our positions across the board, not just up front on our offense and defensive line. I think we addressed that with this class and really placed an emphasis on that. We're not going to neglect speed. That'll always be something we recruit at the University of Houston, but big and fast we felt like is better than small and fast, and I think we addressed that across the board in this year's class. We will always recruit Texas. That'll always be our primary area. We look, when we go out recruiting, we look for a number of things. We want great students. We want, obviously, great athletes. We want young men with great character. And as important as anything, we want young men and their families who want to be here and be at the University of Houston, get their degree from the University of Houston, and, consider making this their home. And we found a number of young men, everyone in this class, that fit that category. And I think when you look at how this class breaks down, 13 are from the state of Texas, 5 from Louisiana, and I think Louisiana to me is a state that's maybe a little bit under-recruited. You look back last year and getting a Trayvon Stewart to come in here and lead the nation in tackles for freshmen and become a freshman All-American. I think that was a great get for us, and to be able just to drive into that state, into Louisiana, and be able to take 3, 4, 5 kids every year that, again, want to be here, may have family ties, may have school ties, as some did this year, to the University of Houston. I think that's an excellent resource for us. 5 from California. We were a little bit heavier this year on junior college transfers than in the past. I think there's a couple of positions of immediate need that we felt like bringing in a 20, 21, 22-year-old who's played 2 years of college football can have more of an immediate impact. So you'll see a little bit higher number from California as well. 1 from Florida, 1 from Kansas, being another junior college transfer, and 1 from New York, finally a junior college transfer there as well. So that's really how it broke down. We've signed 5 guys mid-year that are already in school, have been in school here for almost a month. Defensive end Trevor Harris, a junior college transfer from New York by way growing up outside of Orlando, Florida. DeJuan Hines, the quarterback from Decaney, right here in Houston. Landon Roberts from Port Arthur Memorial High School, who spent last season at Morgan State, a 1AA school, where he was one of the top freshman linebackers in the nation. Caleb Tucker, a true freshman enrollee again in January, a linebacker from Monroe, Louisiana, and Teron Walker, a junior college corner from California. But I really like how the numbers broke down. 4 defensive backs, 4 offensive linemen. You look at our linemen up front, the average of the 4 is 6'6", 329 pounds. 3 high school young men and then a junior college transfer in Damian Paris. 4 quarterbacks, DeJuan Hines, I mentioned, Greg Ward, who's a tremendous athlete. He's a winner, and when you look at us signing 4 quarterbacks, and that may stand out as I don't know if many schools in the nation signed 4 quarterbacks this year. I think that's because of a number of reasons. I think when you look at our team last year, and again when you consider numbers at each position, I think the quantity of scholarship quarterbacks for us was low. We had 3 quarterbacks on scholarship last season, a sophomore, a redshirt freshman, and a true freshman. Crawford Jones was a walk-on that I put on scholarship prior to last season beginning, and obviously we know he was a fifth-year senior. And we had 2 scholarship quarterbacks in the last few years leave our program that would have still been here, which would have had our numbers about right in terms, again, of quantity, not quality, quantity. So, that was an important need for us. I think when you look across the country, whether it's in the National Football League, whether it's college football or high school football, the teams that tend to be winning programs, it starts with the play at quarterback. So we have added some numbers, again, to the quantity in our program. Greg Ward being another one with DeJuan Hines is a winner. All 4 of these quarterbacks have tremendous leadership skills and ability, and we're excited about all 4 of them. Billy Kosh is the junior college transfer, started his career at Kansas State, left and went to Butler Community College. They were undefeated until the national championship game this past season. He'll be here in June, as well as John O'Corn, a high school recruit from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, who yesterday was named the Florida High School Offensive Player of the Year. So we're excited about those 4 coming to our program as well. 3 receivers, 3 defensive linemen, 3 linebackers, again, 2 of which are on campus already, 2 running backs, 2 tight ends, and Shantez Jackson and DeAndre Skinner, and then Ty Cummings, who I think's got the strongest leg of any kicker in the country. So from top to bottom, really excited about our class. Again, addresses a number of needs. I stood up here a year ago and went through everyone individually, and talked about a Deontay Greenberry who was California's High School Player of the Year and got a chance to come in and play early, and mentioned a couple other guys that I thought were polished and might be physically or mentally ready to come in and play, and you never know. We look back, we played 9 true freshmen last season. 2 of the 9 were walk-ons that played for us as true freshmen. So, we redshirted about 20 or so freshmen last season, and I think when you ask or speculate how good a recruiting class it could be, I don't think you can fairly answer that for 2 or 3 years down the road. You look back at our recruiting class from 2010, and I think some of the so-called experts might have had it the top recruiting class in Conference USA at the time, and maybe one of the best statistically on paper by its ranking in the history of the program. And you look 2.5, 3 years later, and almost half of that class isn't here any longer. So I think you need to let the class play out. We look back on last year's class, and while 9 true freshmen played, and we redshirted 20 or a little bit more than that, we as coaches, having spent the last 12 months or so with that class, seeing them work out, seeing them practice every Thursday throughout the course of the season. We have a scrimmage with all of our redshirt guys and our young guys. We know how good a class that is at this point, and I think over the next year or 2, you're really going to see last year's year's class play out. And again, I look forward to seeing how today's class plays out, not only this upcoming season, but in years to come, and really continues the foundation as we head into the Big East Conference. So we're excited, and we'll maybe take a couple hours off tomorrow morning, get in here about 11, and get ready for spring practice 3.5 weeks from now, and then get ready for the 2014 recruiting class as well. Any questions?
Tony, based off of the importance that you placed on O'Korn early in the process, and the others as well, and that you also have a few other quarterbacks, where are you at that position, knowing that a couple of those guys will be in the spring that can go with you in spring ball, but just overall at that position, where do you stand on it heading into December when the other ones get here?
At the quarterback position specifically, we'll go into spring with no secret like we did last year, with every position on our football team being open to grab a starting position and a backup role, and see how it plays out really through spring. I would anticipate putting out a 2 deep after the spring, and regardless of position, quarterback included, that could change leading up to our opening game next season.
Tony, how quickly do you expect these kids to play? I mean, I guess your JUCO kids, you want to plug in right away, but about the high school kids?
Well, it goes back a little bit. Again, the junior college recruits, I feel like it's an immediate need. So they're coming here, some with 2 years to play 2 and no redshirt year. And, they've got to come. Some are 21, 22 years old, so they're more physically mature than a 17 or 18-year-old, obviously, at this point. And they've got to come in our minds, more ready to play physically. They've got to pick it up at a quick pace to play. The high school kids, it's really hard to say. We brought in, as an example, Larry McDuffie from North Shore last year, who was, with his pads on, about 145 pounds, but he ran 10.5 and 100, and picked it up extremely quickly mentally, was able to sustain physically and showed us he could, and started for us half the season, and was a first-team freshman all-conference performer. So it's hard to speculate on the freshmen, and it's hard to speculate on the entire class, but you hope the junior college guys, at least, the small number we signed, come here and are physically ready and then can pick it up mentally and be able to play for us immediately this season.
Which is the best yet for you in this group?
I'm going to go back to 2 things. One, just the way I'm wired, I'm not going to single anybody out and have any of these other young men upset at me. And 2, I don't know. And that goes back to really 2-3 years from now. Let's see how this class plays itself out. I don't know. A couple years ago, again, at the University of Houston, we had the best quarterback in the history of college football. And again, Art Briles recruited him, and I don't know, maybe, again, he's become a good friend of mine. I think the world of him, but I don't know if he knew he brought in, a guy that was going to throw for that many yards and that many touchdowns when he stood up here 8, 9 years ago, whatever it was. So it's hard to answer that question at this point, but, you can ask me that in 4 years. Back in the 2013 signing class, who was the best recruit, and then I'll have an answer at that point for sure.
Even you talked about recruiting even some guys in California. Was that a point of emphasis to recruit nationally more than just in Texas?
No, it wasn't necessarily a point of emphasis. A number of things play into it. We wanted to get some immediate help, which is why you see the junior college numbers a little bit higher. And Jamie Christian came to us last year from Arizona State. He's from California originally. He's always recruited the states. He's got great connections. And again, I believe recruiting is 2 things. I think it's evaluating the prospects, and then once you decide who you want to recruit, then it's building relationships. And Coach Christian's done a fantastic job, as our entire staff has, but he's got a number of connections in the state of California. He went out there primarily for a couple of junior college guys, and then along the way, we picked up 2 high school young men as well. So, and again, I've said this a number of times, the perception of our program nationally is phenomenal. And when a kid from California to John O'Korn in Florida to Trevor Harris in Brooklyn, New York, hears hears that the University of Houston is interested in them, they're immediately humbled and flattered, and they're excited. And then next thing you know, you find some connections to where a young man's got family in Dallas, or a family in Houston, or a relative went to school here, and you make a connection and you build the relationships, and they want to come to school and get their degree here.
Is David Pyland, is he planning to stay and compete for the position of starting quarterback?
Yes, absolutely.
Hey, Tony, you look at this roster of players, you got some standouts. How important was this to land a class like this, coming off last season and trying to build something new?
Well, when you ask how important was it right now to land a class like this, I stand here today and I don't know what our ranking was by the recruiting gurus, and whether we were 14-0 last year or 0-14 last year, and this is even moving forward, regardless of our record, every class is going to be, there's not going to be a more important class. Well, here was our record this year, so this class, guys, is really important. No, every year is going to be an extremely important class. You know, I met Terry Donahue, who's the head coach of UCLA for 20 years. I met him last spring. We talked for about an hour. We had a function together, and at the end, I said, give me some advice. Give me your best piece of advice. And he said, I'm going to tell you what John Wooden once told me when I was at UCLA. He said, I've seen a lot of bad coaches win with great players. I've never seen a great coach win with bad players. You know, you got to recruit, and I think there's a lot to be said about that. You know, players are much more important to me than the plays, and players make plays. So recruiting is always going to be extremely important to us every year, and that's why I say it lightheartedly. We're going to take a couple hours off tomorrow, and then we're on to the 2014 class, but it's the truth. You'll look up here in a couple weeks, and you'll start seeing high school juniors making commitments to programs already.
So did you get the playmakers you wanted?
Absolutely, we did.
Tony, the other day you had talked about building relationships with these guys, and that enables you to help you keep them. This class did seem to stay intact for the most part, and you also had a few late ones that committed to you. Can you just talk about those two specifically, Ayers and Bowser, that committed in the last 2 days, and what that did for your class and at those positions? Well,
DeMarcus Ayers, again, a young man we've been recruiting for a long time. Tyus Bowser we have as well. I joked with him and his parents. He was hard to get a hold of, which actually may have helped us. You know, he was so busy with football, and they played so long into the playoffs. And as soon as football ended, he went right into basketball. So he was hard. He was a tough young man to get a hold of. Similar in my mind to like a Ryan Jackson a year ago down in Angleton. No one could get a hold of him, but again, we weren't far away, so we were able to secure his commitment. And again, those were areas of need for us. DeMarcus is primarily a high school quarterback, but knows that he's coming here to play receiver. Played in the Team USA All-Star game, was a most valuable player in a couple of games at receiver. So it's something we've seen him do. We had him in camp. We've recruited him all along. Again, to get his commitment late, whether it's late or early, we'll definitely take it. He's a great young man and is excited to be here. Tyus, same thing. And Tyus, as a defensive end, had 24 sacks last year, his senior year of high school. Is going to play football here and basketball. He's 6'3", 225. He's never, and I don't want this to sound insulting to the program there, but because he goes right from football to basketball, he really hasn't given his body a chance to go through a true off season. So he's going to have a chance here to gain some weight to his frame as well, and be a really dominant force, I think, for us at defensive end. But again, you talk about relationships. We had some young men that were committed for 10, 11 months, and then we had those. Tyus committed to us last night, and DeMarcus on Monday. So it ends up being in theory all the same. They all signed today, and I think those relationships are extremely important throughout this process.
With the signing of 2 tight ends, do you guys plan on implementing that more into the offense starting next season, or maybe even a year out?
Absolutely, we do. And I think you can still be up tempo, you can still be no huddle, and you can have a guy in there when you're entering again the Big East Conference, which is going to be a little bit more physical. That when you need a yard, you can have a tight end in there, you can have a fullback in there per se as well, and get a yard with not 4 wideouts on the field and a tailback by himself. So that will definitely be something we look to implement offensively.
Tony, was there an area that you would have liked to have had more in terms of numbers? That running back, were you okay with 2, or did you want to have a third there?
No, we did not. 2 was our number for running back. It worked out beautifully in this class. That was a number we had originally.
Right. And then kind of off of David's question with the tight ends, those were 2 guys that were previously committed to some pretty high-profile programs. The fact that you can get those kind of guys in that may have been going elsewhere, what does that say for you guys and your staff to be able to pull that off?
Well, the thing that I noticed this year, I saw some trends, and I think with this class for us, having been here 5 years, personally, we went against some other big programs, and we identified some kids early, like John O'Corn, the quarterback, committed early and had a number of high-profile programs like us come in and try to get him to even visit late, and we held on because of the relationship. And again, I mentioned this, a year ago when I got the job, but we're not going to back down from any programs. We don't negatively recruit at all. We just sell Houston. And, if a young man is interested in our program and interested in hearing about what we have to offer and what our selling points are, I think you can see the results. And again, we've gone up against some great, traditionally great programs and lost some and won our share as well.
One question that came up, you did sign 13 from Texas, but only 3 from the immediate area. Is that just kind of the way it played out, or as far as when you look at the big picture and then the pool of players, is Texas, and you don't really factor in Houston as being a separate part? I mean, is it all just kind of...
No, it's not all. I do factor in Houston. That's our backyard. And it starts there with us. And again, Houston, to me, is the most recruited city in the nation. And when I look at the last 12 months, different people have different opinions. Oh, we had this guy, we lost this guy. I thought we really, with recruiting, true recruiting, and building relationships, I thought over the course of the 12 months, I thought we lost 3 guys. I thought 3 guys, there were 3 guys in this process that committed to Houston. We're all excited, had great relationships with, and we truly lost 3 guys. And coincidentally, all 3 are from the city of Houston. So it's not that we're not recruiting Houston. We're recruiting Houston, and we signed 3 from there this year, and I think that's just maybe how it played out a little bit. But it's not that we're not trying to recruit Houston. This spring, coming up, the first week will be Monday, April 15th. That 5 days, those 5 days right there before tax testing, and we're going to hit every school. We're not going anywhere but Houston that week. Every school with a 77 zip code will have a Houston coach in it those first 5 days of recruiting. And then we're to be back in our office the next week during the tax testing and make our early decisions on the city of Houston recruiting-wise for 2014. So it's a priority for us. Again, maybe how it played out a little bit, but it shouldn't come across, well, they didn't recruit Houston. We did recruit Houston. Again, had we not lost those 3, we'd have been sitting here saying there were 6 guys from Houston. But again, I'm excited about this class and certainly excited about the student athletes and the prospects in this city.
In your return game, Donald Gage, I guess one of your assistants was saying earlier that he can probably work on punts, and John Leday, would he also be a candidate for kickoff returns, or how would that play out?
Absolutely, and I think there's more than that. I think you'll see a number of young men get an opportunity. I think that'll also be an area that we'd like to come out of spring practice with before they get here, kind of knowing who those guys could be. We're going to put more of an emphasis on our return game this spring as well, and again, hopefully have that a little bit more solidified before they get here. But surely they'll all get, like Ryan Jackson did, they'll all get a look when they get here in August.
What was the deal with the Leday? I mean, did he have an injury? He kind of flew under the radar a little bit?
He did. He had a minor injury his junior year, and the way recruiting's going right now, if you don't have a great junior season, and certainly in John Leday's case, if you don't play as much your junior year, when these early offers come out and these junior day invitations go out, you can fly under the radar. And I think there's some programs in the state of Texas that have done a great job identifying those guys that have great senior seasons, and I think we did did that with John Leday. I think he's a guy that flew under the radar and has got tremendous upside. He's a 6-foot receiver. He's long. He can run. He had over 1,000 yards receiving this year, so we're excited about him.